Welcome. This is The Circle, and I'm your host, Jane Mountrose. I'm here with my wonderful partner and co-director of Awakenings Institute, Dr. Phillip Mountrose. So, hi, Phillip. This week, our focus is on rising above the turmoil, which seems to me to be very appropriate considering all of the things that are happening in the mass consciousness these days. We've been focusing in recent weeks on related topics like stepping up as a creator and holding a vision of a more united world. And it's particularly relevant in the United States now because of the election that's coming up on Tuesday. I also would say it's equally relevant all around the world because the message is the same, and the message is that love is the solution. So today we're going to take this theme a step further. I want to move this out of the way here. I had something. Oh, I know what happened. Hold on. There we are. I want to be able to see the comments. Now it popped back. Hold on. Not cooperating. Okay. Okay, good. I see that Babs is here and she says, hello, my friends. And thank you, Babs, for being here last week. I heard from Phillip that you had a wonderful time. So thank you for joining us. Anyhow, we're going a little further today with the idea of holding the vision of a united world by intentionally rising above the turmoil and having the intention of staying there. It's very easy to get dragged down, and that's what the mass media and also a lot of the energy of the mass consciousness, it is dragging on us to drag us down. And it makes it, I think, especially important for us to recognize that we are creators here and ultimately co-creators with Source, with God. And as such, the best thing we can do is rise to the occasion and hold the energy of love and light and live in a way that we know is most beneficial for ourselves and for everyone. So that's what we're going to do today. And before we begin, I want to thank you for joining us. The Circle is here every week at this time to light up our lives, to help us to heal, to grow, and stand out as beacons of light for the world. And that's a big thing. If that's the only thing you can do, I think sometimes we feel like we're not doing enough. Just holding the frequency of love is a lot for all concerned. And one more thing before we start just settling in together, whether you're here with us live or later, just take a moment and imagine we're all here together through time and space. You can close your eyes if it's appropriate for a moment and just breathe some light into your body. Bring yourself more fully into this moment so we can fully experience this time together. It's amazing what a few intentional breaths and getting into the body in the moment can do. So that's wonderful. So with that, I want to turn to you, Phillip, and ask you to share a bit about your feelings about staying above the turmoil.
I think this is an important topic, Jane, for us all, because it's very easy to get enmeshed in the day-to-day controversies and polarities. And the polarities, what's interesting, polarities are natural and part of the universe in a rather neutral, even helpful way. But the polarization, where you get caught into one side or the other, is where the problem occurs. And what we're here to do is explore ways to stay more neutral and loving and above the fray, so to speak, so we aren't kind of lost in the the battle below and consumed by it.
Right.
So just having that kind of clear awareness of what the goal is, that's part of the transcendence. The first thing is you have to become aware that, hey, this is the problem, that there's polarization, that people are fighting where kind of both sides lose instead of both sides winning. And the way they both win is to recognize different points of view, even ones that may be misguided or destructive, and figure out ways to bring that into the whole and learn and grow from it.
Right.
And that's what we're here to explore today.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's been many years with Awakenings Institute. We've been focusing on love and light. It's interesting when I think we started Awakenings Institute in the mid to late 1990s. And of course, there wasn't even the internet then. And certainly love was not one of the primary topics. It's been, I can't help but say, heartwarming to me over the years to see that the understanding that love is a solution has been really growing. And we've been living with that for many years ourselves, and also living with the understanding that we are creators rather than victims. And there are definitely forces here that want us to be victims because they can hold us in limitation. And that's not what we want. What we want to do is just step up as creators. And one of the points I wanted to make about that is, since we've started doing this and just really focusing on manifesting life on our own terms, it has been pretty amazing. And the way it has felt to me is we can have, just as individuals, we can have a certain influence on the whole. We're not solely able to influence the whole. Like I can just say, well, everything's going to change now in the world. But in our smaller reality, in our personal reality, we can create kind of a buffer around ourselves if we're living in love and light. I've noticed over the years, our lives have become more and more harmonious and beautiful and wonderful and joyful. And even with the ups and downs of the economy, we've just maintained and continued on. And my intention is for that to continue now in these tumultuous times. I see Nikki here, by the way. Nikki Wood. Good morning, Nikki. And so what we're going to do today actually is a process. Philip's going to lead us on a little journey, which is similar to some that you've probably seen before if you've been with us in the circle, going to a place where we are creators and we can really step up to that vision and hold it. Just hold it through through all of the turmoil that's going on around us.
Right. We called it the ultimate paradigm shift. We wrote a book about it together.
Right. Mm-hmm.
About 3
Which
years
is available.
ago.
Yeah, it's available on Amazon, by the way. It's
still
a wonderful book.
so that really is the theme. It was really, I think in some ways you do things and you don't realize perhaps the potential of it, but that really is the essence, that ultimate paradigm shift, which is namely becoming the creator of your reality, which doesn't mean you're controlling things, which actually is not what it means. Sort of like the serenity prayer, to step up to do what you can and know the things that you can't, and the wisdom to know the difference, but to empower yourself by the light of your soul to do what you can with the gifts that you're here in. And that's that light worker mission.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it is challenging. I think we can all admit it, that it's challenging to hold a higher vision in spite of everything that's happening, and to have, even when you think of all the people who are suffering, like in the Ukraine and all of the things that are happening in the world, and think, well, I'm going to be joyful and enjoy life anyhow. It can feel like, well, that doesn't sound quite right, but it really is. What we want to do is hold on to that higher vision for everyone, and to be beaming as much love and light as we can individually into the world, because it is through the numbers of us and also the potency of the energy that we're able to emit that we're going to be able to change things. A couple of weeks ago, I sometimes wake up a little early in the morning and end up doing a little meditation or something for a while before I actually get out of bed. And I had this realization of how important it is just to hold on to the joy and to hold on to the realization that we're creators, and have that as my goal, one of my primary goals throughout the day, every day, because of particularly these times when it feels like there are in the United States, there are pretty substantial threats to the country right now in terms of our democratic values, et cetera, et cetera. And I think even with the idea of, quote, taking it seriously, love and light still is the solution. And so when I got up, I do meditations in the morning. So I did a meditation, and I'm going to actually read from it. And I think Philip and I are going to talk a little bit about it because it was very powerful. Recently, we've been exploring, we use oracles a lot, and often I'll ask for insights, whatever. If I don't have something specific, which sometimes I do, I'll ask for something, whatever is in my highest good for today. And we're using this, you can't read it, let's see. It's called Keepers of the Light Oracle, which is a large group of ascended masters and ascended beings as a way to connect with them and also to learn more about them. So I've been drawing one. I'll draw one card from that for the day, and then I draw another card, which is something that is commonly called a significator card. And I'm drawing the significator card is something that adds more depth and precision to whatever the reading is about. And I've been drawing that from the Angel Wisdom Tarot, which is another really wonderful oracle. And I draw it from the Major Arcana. So I'm going to show you the cards and then read a little bit about what they said in the book. And this was with that focus on staying above the turmoil. So the first card from the Keepers of the Light Oracle is Master Buddha. And these cards, by the way, I'm finding them very, very powerful, connecting, just looking at the images of the masters and connecting with their frequency is really powerful. And they're beautiful, just beautiful, beautiful images. So I read the the message about Master Buddha, which is increased awareness, deep connection, and trust your inner voice, which is interesting because I was thinking of this and it was an opportunity, actually a validation in a sense. So it starts by talking a little bit about him, and then he says, he helps us to make contact with our inner teacher and encourage us to acknowledge how we feel and then accept it so that we can move beyond the suffering we feel. Now, I think that's a really important point too, because it's not about denying that there might be fear or there might be sadness or whatever it is about the things that are happening today. Then it says, you're moving beyond the illusions that fear has created so that you can be more focused on your priorities and what is serving you on this path. I thought, that's interesting. All suffering eventually comes to an end, and acknowledging how you really feel and what occurred in order for you to feel this way will help you to move beyond it. Call on Master Buddha now to help you remember you are part of something that is greater than suffering. The wheel of karma is turning in your favor, and all your acts of kindness and goodness will benefit you. I thought that was really beautiful. And then the other one, do you want to read the one for the other card, Philip? Or
oh, you mean from the deck?
One, yeah, the other one is the star.
The star.
Which is Major Arcana number 17 in the Angel Wisdom Tarot. And this one I thought was also equally synchronous with the topic.
And the star, again, is one of the major arcana tarot cards. And some people talk about the cards as a portal to different realms and different levels, and such as the Akashic records, which we've studied quite a bit too. But in the Rodley Valentine, the deck on the star card, what a relief, there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and it's the light of the divine sending your great blessings. The happy changes from the transformation card have arrived. The star is a card of faith, hope, and joy. It brings with it an understanding of the past and sense of purpose that makes your heart feel so free that you'll want to laugh out loud. With that understanding, you can plan for the future, knowing that all will be well. So wish upon that star. The sky's the limit as you dream of what you want. Trust that the future is truly bright. So that's interesting, a very optimistic reading for today in what seems like a pretty turbulent, murky world that we're living in.
Right.
And going further, I did my own kind of reading today on that and brought in the laughing Buddha, the master Buddha of the Buddha. And Buddha was an ascended master who mastered the lessons on the earthly cycle like other ascended masters. But the laughing Buddha is sort of a higher realm, a higher manifestation even still. And we all have connections with these higher beings because they all merge with us. And just as we have individual archetypes or different things, flavors, things that we embody more, it's all in there, but more of who we are, or more coloring us, influencing us, this laughing Buddha did. So the laughing Buddha says, and this was also on that star card, that's why I'm bringing it up. The star is the star of hope, the star of possibilities. If you follow its light, more becomes possible. And this, I want to hone in on this a bit too, the possibilities, because we can get very hopeless and feeling locked in and feeling like nothing is possible. And that's where our light becomes extinguished. When we want to keep that light alive. And going further here, it says in the reading I got for myself today in my own inner meditation, just keep letting the light flow because it's there, unless you put up a temporary resistance to block it. Then in that darkness, if that happens to be the case, you will know you're missing the light that you seek, which will show you the way forward. So in darkness or light, the light can prevail. Be open to all possibilities, again, possibilities. Breathe it in, take stock, and be selective and intentional.
Yeah. Yeah, it's really beautiful. And I was really impressed when I started reading this, where it said the light at the end of the tunnel. It's like we don't have to deny excuse me, that there is something that's disturbing us. It's just we have to also see the light at the end of the tunnel and move towards that. I don't know what happened there with my throat. In the process that we're going to do today, there also is built into kind of the way that we're going to do it is one of our favorite healing techniques, which is also very extremely simple and just actually surprisingly effective, and it draws on pure spiritual energy for healing. So it's something that we'll be using today, and that you can use over and over again. I'm very excited about it. Always. And this was something we developed in the 1990s that just has been proven to be more and more effective as we've moved along. Excuse me, I need a little drink of water.
I do want to reemphasize that message that if you're in the dark, if you get enmeshed and embroiled in all the controversies and polarities, that's a signal to open up to the light. And of course, if you're in the light, just stay in there as much as possible and broadcast that and be in that.
And to acknowledge what you're experiencing.
Right.
Because that's part of it when we do the healing processes. One of the things that we recommend is to just specifically identify what's bothering you in this moment, if something's bothering you. That it's not like you have to deny it's happening, like, oh, I'm all in love and light. None of that's happening. It happens to all of us.
Right.
And the more specific you can be about what you're experiencing in the moment, the more effective the process is going to be.
Yeah. Don't deny the fear and confusion. If it's there, acknowledge that and go through it the way is through. And one of, I think, the keys for us all is that well-known phrase, be in the world, but not of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Being in the world is acknowledging, yes, we're in this world of polarity and dualities and conflicts and confusion and fear and so forth. And also wonderful things too, to have the gratitude of this, acknowledging what is wonderful, but not of the world, which is that higher transcendent, that light, the light keeper, way shower.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And another interesting thing is the way that news in itself is oriented. It's oriented towards what's wrong. Mm-hmm. And there's a lot of good happening in the world too. You get, Philip, don't you get a daily good news kind of a?
Yeah, there's a good news letter that I put, and you might want to, some of you go and subscribe. It's called, it has like positive stories of people integrating with each other, accepting different races or advances in ecology or the world. So there's a lot of, it's called the Good Newsletter, I think it's called, but you can subscribe to it. I just like to read the headlines, if nothing else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we need to balance it. And these guys are good for that too. They're always enjoying life, these little ones. So sweet. So I know it's a little early for the meditation, but maybe we could start early, because we can also talk afterwards about exactly what we've done and how people can take advantage of the things that we're going to be sharing.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to start in on it, right, Philip? We're going to
Right.
start with our traditional, one of our favorite mud to mountaintop processes.
Right.
Starts, where people are so often wallowing in the mire.
Right. And it can be related to all the struggle and strife and we sometimes called the meta crisis, the multiple crisis, the global interacting, overlapping crises going on, causing all the division in the world that's sort of boiling up, and it's been there, but it's becoming more and more apparent.
Right.
So we begin just by relaxing as we're going into a meditative state to see this from a deeper, broader, more soulful perspective. But at first we just relax our body, and that's a cue to just becoming more and more at ease with oneself and letting waves of relaxation come through us and letting go of things that are no longer ours. We may have picked up things along the way. Just let ourselves be clear just in our own energy for a moment here as we breathe relaxing breaths. And as we do that, we're going to have a visualization or an awareness of ourselves when we are struggling with the challenges of our lives. And it might be some of the polarities or some of the fears or some of the crises that are affecting us personally.
That can be frustration, with what's happening, and sadness.
Reacting to things. Yeah. And that is like being in the mud. That's a way of, we see ourselves in a way as if we are stuck in a mud, in our own version of our own kind of mud. And as we're there, we can be there for a moment and just acknowledge it. It is truly there, but know that it's temporary place, and just to acknowledge that that's part of the experience and the journey too. And as we stay there for a moment, it's a signal that we can lift off from there and rise up above it. And we can easily, gently, in whatever ways the easiest natural way for you, and allowing it to rise, yourself to rise in your mind to that higher place, and it could be a mountaintop or a summit, a cloud, a very high, lofty place where you are connected with everything and everyone. You have this tremendous view. The air is beautiful. It's panoramic.
Philip, did you want to anchor weren't we going to do the anchoring?
Yeah, and we'll anchor that feeling in. So as you want to get, and when you get a strong sense of it, which you may already have, you can anchor that in by touching yourself, say in your heart, or having a symbol or a sound, something that reminds you of this wonderful, elevated, connected oneness experience atop the mountain summit. And Jane, do you want to come in and add your experience?
Well, I would also like to anchor whatever it was that was happening in the mud. That would be if we're going to do the reframing and anchoring.
Yeah. So we'll want me to finish that off first?
Yeah.
So take your higher awareness, and it could be that symbol or sound, and send that into the mud, back to the mud where you were previously when you were struggling and resisting and reacting. So that beautiful energy from atop the mountain, it could be a sound or a light or a color or an image. Just send that back into your older self, help it out, so to speak, lift it out of the mud. And you probably will notice a shift. The mud is no longer there in the way it was, and you can rise above the mud and use your soulful self to be in the world. And you can anchor that in.
Mm-hmm.
Jane, did you want to add?
Yeah, so the reframing and anchoring, the way it works is you anchor whatever it is that's happening in the mud in one place in the body, and then you anchor when you go up onto the mountaintop, you anchor that on another place in the body. It is what you're anchoring is that soulful presence. And one of the easiest ways to do it, if you just return to kind of imagining yourself in the mud, just focus on, well, if it's, for me, I do experience frustration when I think about some of the things that are happening and without understanding how people can be the way they are, then I can just focus on that frustration and put my left hand on my left leg, anchoring it onto my body. And it doesn't matter technically where you do this. It's not like your leg is a special place or anything. It's just it's putting a certain state into a certain place on the body. So I've anchored that there, and then rising up again to that beautiful lofty mountaintop and breathing in that fresh, beautiful, clean, clear air, feeling the sun, the light of source shining down on you, and opening to the love in your heart. Again, and then the idea is to anchor that energy of love then into your heart and put your hand there to anchor it in that place. If your first problem was that you felt something in your heart, then you can also just anchor it with your right hand on your right leg. And then just allow your mind to go clear for a moment, not focusing necessarily on anything, just hanging out, and put both hands in both places at the same time. So what this does is brings up both of those energies. You just hold that there for a moment. Then release the one on your left leg, which is whatever it was you started with, in my case, frustration. And hold your hand on your heart for a moment. And then release that one. And notice how that feels. And you can do this with anything. You can start in the mud. You can do it without the mud and mountaintop, but that's a very powerful visualization. Just start with anything, anchor it one place, then release it, anchor that heart energy, that love in your heart in another place, release that, then anchor both together and release the old one. And the one that's left is the love. And I think for me, it's about combining that with the intention to be in that space. Like this is my intention. I'm going to stay here. I'm not going to allow myself to be tempted by the the things that are going on to feel that I have to go down there with them. I'm going to stay in that higher place. And another way to do that is with colors. Images altogether are like holograms. I see Karen Gibbons joined us. Thank you. And hello. If you just focus on, if you're thinking of that, how you feel on the mountaintop, just focus on what color that might be. I see beautiful yellow of the sun and golden white light around me. You can also then send that out to other places in your life. So fill your house with it, for one thing. Wherever you're living, fill that place with that beautiful energy so that you're supported in your environment. And if you have a yard, you can put it in your yard, surrounding yourself with it. Your car, so that when you go other places, you're still surrounded with it. And of course, we want to beam that out then to the world too. And then knowing from there that you can recall this same frequency by recalling the color again. And so we can also send it out to the future. So just imagine sending that out and filling your future with it. You can fill your past with it also, just your whole timeline. And whenever you think of it in the future, you can recall that color. You can also have something you carry with you. Like I have a lot of these things like selenite hearts. You could carry that or wear something with a heart. I usually wear something that has a heart on it, or is a heart. That will help. Or it might be a phrase that you would want to repeat to yourself. Like life is beautiful. Just that you can write on a notepad and post in different places, just reminding ourselves. Because we are creators and our intention is powerful. I've noticed since I made that, I think just because I made that decision, I've always intended to be in a more loving place, but having made that as an intention and as a decision, now in this situation, to not allow the news to get to me, I feel stronger and I feel like I'm doing the thing that's right. And we can feel that in our heart if that feels right to you to do that. So any other thoughts on that, Philip?
Well, just in brief, when I did this meditation for myself, of seeing myself kind of lost in the mass consciousness in the mud, that was the mud for me, and just feeling drowned out in kind of a chaotic crowd, lifting myself up after going to the mountaintop, which was a light sort of, for me, it was the image was of staying in the light. And I just saw myself sort of rising out of the crowd with my own light around me and shining that on everyone else for people to sort of pick up on the energy. Yeah. And that image in itself also is very powerful.
starting in the mud. And if you breathe in lighter energy and imagine rising up like to a mountaintop, it actually does elevate your state very naturally. I use it a lot with clients. Some clients, that's all we do is we go to the mountaintop to get a higher perspective on whatever is going on in their lives. And it just seems to work somehow. I know you use it too, don't you?
It's very easy. It's very natural. I've done it on many interviews, even with podcast people who are, just sort of vaguely aware of this kind of material, because some of the podcasts I go on are very attuned to what we're doing here. Some of it's a little far out and kind of interested in it. And even the people who are more unfamiliar with like the metaphysical, spiritual oneness, way shower, light keeper, and light worker approach, they seem to all relate to the mud to the mountaintop. I haven't seen anyone who didn't immediately grasp it and embody it and benefit from it.
Yeah. It's pretty amazing. The other part of it, there are actually, you could say there are 3 levels to it. When you get to the mountaintop, if you're imagining a lofty mountaintop with a panoramic view and you're looking out for miles and miles around you, can kind of imagine that again. And just seeing the immense beauty of the world all around you, and just to experience that silence of being in that lofty high place in nature. There's a certain sound in the air when you're in those higher places. That also then, that's further expanding. So imagining any kind of imagination, like imagining yourself on the beach at sunset, looking over the water, anything that has an expansive view will help to expand your mind also. And I'm mentioning these because it's kind of like, it's almost like a little trick, but actually what it is it's just the way that consciousness reaches us. Go ahead.
There's a wonderful saying by Jahil Gibran, the famous poet, who said, "When you reach the top of the mountain, then you will begin the climb."
Right. And it is like bridging that space between heaven and earth, where we want to connect with these masters and angels. And I think it's very helpful just to imagine going up to that mountaintop, because already you're elevating your state. So you're meeting them part way. And it's just much easier to envision them being actually here for us. So we can imagine now even that we're on the mountaintop and that we're asking Ascended Master Buddha to join us and to surround us with his vibrational signature so we can feel his presence. And it is from there, like what Philip was saying, he was able to have a conversation with him. It is from that place of then actually feeling that connection with his vibration that is so powerful. And the third thing I wanted to mention also, and I want to thank Master Buddha for being with us, and I think there are so many beings of light surrounding us. Especially those of us who are dedicated as light workers to supporting the light. They're here. They're always around us and they're always available to help us. And the third layer of it is that light above, which is the light of source. You could say that the light of our creator or God, we can ask that light to shine down on us, and just feeling it. You can do it right now, just closing your eyes again for a moment, feeling that light shining down on you and filling your whole body with it. I think it's very effective also to invite those beautiful energies into all of the cells of your body and into your mind, opening your mind to a higher perspective. And then allowing that light to radiate out all around you, filling your whole field with a higher vibration a higher frequency of light from source. You might feel that that elevates your state even more. There's just so many wonderful things we can do. I think often of people like Richard Bartlett. If people are aware of Richard Bartlett, who he's a healer, and actually he doesn't even call himself a healer because he doesn't acknowledge that it's exactly healing. But he talks about not having time to stay in a cave for years to get ourselves to the place where we want to be of service to the world. There are shortcuts, and that's what we're talking about, is taking advantage of those things that are available to us that will help us to lift our spirits and keep ourselves in the kinds of states that we want to be in, to be supportive of the world that we want to move into. And Buddy keeps coming up. Buddy, this is Buddy for anybody who doesn't know. He loves the energy. He can't stay away. I keep trying to put him down and he keeps coming back. Don't you, sweetie pie?
And that reminds me also of another wonderful poem by Rumi, a famous poem, the poet. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. So beyond right and wrong, there's a field, and that's that top of the mountain.
Yeah. And it is, when you look at polarity, the way that I see it, at least, there's there's love and hate. Even love on it can be conditional love and hate. What we're talking about, actually, the mountaintop, it is going to the apex of the triangle, which is not polarized, which is oneness. And if you find yourself in a polarity state, like it's you against anything, just going up to the mountaintop is a really great solution. It feels great. Bab says, I love Rumi. Yeah. There are so many really wonderful resources available to us. And just going back to the oracles, I find the readings that I'm doing now, like I mentioned, with one master and one significator card to bring more depth to the topic. I'm gaining a lot from doing that. It takes something, and you can receive your inner guidance, but then if you actually are also connecting with more words of wisdom and allowing them to stimulate more thought, I think it just takes it to another level for me. Don't you find that, Philip?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it is a way of going deeper into it and grounding it.
Yeah. So, actually, that feels pretty much complete to me. Standing on my cord here, but you have to go down. I do always, almost always, often I like to imagine the world when we get to this place of just sending that light around the world. And helping to lift the vibration, to be more supportive, actually, of what we're talking about. Because right now, we're being kind of pulled. We're always being pulled in that other direction, because that's where the mass consciousness is. So it's kind of like we're bathing in all of this mass consciousness energy, and it takes a lot of sometimes a lot of focus to rise above it and stay above it. Okay, so from there, Philip, would you like to tell people what's happening at Awakenings Institute? Anything?
Yeah, I would say some people who we have independent online home study courses, which people really like, and we've recently reduced the prices quite a bit, so they're very affordable. Even more affordable, and you can find out about like holistic EFT training, spiritual kinesiology. These are certified hands-on courses you can do by yourself and learn a lot to help yourself and others. So to find out about the courses and the special pricing, you go to tinyurl.com/holistic-courses. It's a shortened URL, tinyurl.com/holistic-courses.
Wonderful. Thank you. And we also have a free resource kit for light workers, spiritual healers, and way showers. It has an excerpt from our latest book, The Loving Power of Your Soul. And it has actually another healing technique we call the Happy Tap or the FT, and other spiritual resources. And you can access that at tinyurl.com/spiritual kit, spiritual-kit. So it's tinyurl.com/spiritual-kit. And we use the tiny URLs because our our URLs on our website are pretty long. We have a big website. We also just recently finished a book on love, which is actually designed or intended for people. It's not that one. It's the solution.
The solution book. The other book.
This is
it's
a book. This is a small ebook. It's
a little book.
It's completely free, and it actually is designed to share with people to help them to understand the truth that love is the solution and how powerful love can be in their lives. Because love is life enhancing. It's good for your health. It's good for your longevity. It's there. You can just say, and then fear and stress and all those other things are the opposite. They actually are associated with illness, especially just directly if you call them all stressors. Stress is associated with just about every disease available around on the planet. And love is the solution. So anyhow, that one is available at tinyurl.com/444. That's the number 4 3 times -solution. And like I said, I don't think you don't even have to opt in for anything. It's just a free thing and we want people to share it with anybody you know who could use a dose of love and happiness. And you can find out more about the circle at circleofloveandlight.org. So there are some resources for you. And if you want to support the circle, you can like our page, which would be very nice, at facebook.com/awakeningscircle. You can share the video with your friends on Facebook. That would be really wonderful and get the message out further. You can also invite friends to join you in the circle, and then you might have some food for a thought in the conversation. The dogs are fighting over a bone in the background. You be good, you guys. Anyhow, that's it. Again, sending that love and light out to the week ahead. Just imagining your whole week and send it everywhere you go during the week, to work, to in your car, just everywhere where you might go. And have a wonderful week. So bye-bye, everybody.